and welcome to the first episode of our new Terrier TV Sports show. I'm Katarina Cordero, and besides me, I have Brian Mansell, John D'Amico, and Justin Rowley. We plan on diving into different areas of the sports world, and you'll be getting our take on several topics. And let's go right into football. I want to know what teams are standing out to you guys, and what's going on this week that you really want to talk about.
You know, I think one team that really stood out to me this week, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I really think it's Miami. Now, you can't talk about what happened last week without talking about how well the Miami Dolphins played against the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they went into that game, nobody really thought that Miami had a shot. Like, come on, it's Lamar Jackson. It's John Harbaugh. You're not beating the Ravens. But what happened, they brought a lot of unique schemes as in using the same exact thing every time, engage 8. And they ended up getting a lot of pressure on Jackson. He couldn't get the ball out right to his receivers, and the severely underwhelming Tua Tagovailoa was able to play better. And the defense was able to come with some huge plays and get them the win. And it was a tough win. And for me, that's huge, and it speaks a lot because when they go and play the Jets this week, it's going to put at a point where you can't bet against them. Even if it's Joe Flacco or Mike White, these Dolphins are looking a little bit more dangerous now that they beat the Ravens.
I agree. And you brought up Mike White. Mike White will not start. It's going to be Joe Flacco starting. After his horrific defeat with the Buffalo Bills this week, he got injured, 4 interceptions, and it really left Jet fans lost hope. And it just shows that one game was just their miracle, but for the Jets organization, things need to change. For me, the surprise game of the week was the Patriots. The Patriots took on the Cleveland Browns, and they won 45-7. Rookie Mac Jones had 198 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I believe Patriots defense held off Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was 11-21 for completions, and he only had 73 yards. And this is Baker Mayfield, may I add, the one that everybody wants to go to the Super Bowl. He's a top contender this season, and this is also somebody who was able to defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers and almost defeated the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. And that, to me, is something that I believe really stood out to me. I believe the Patriots know what to do with their new quarterback. I believe Bill Belichick knows how to use his quarterback. And to me, it's looking like an Alabama setup, let's be honest.
I can see that. What do you think, John?
Well, it's not that I don't disagree with about the Miami Dolphins. I think they did have an impressive win this week. But let's be real. They're going up against the Jets this week. That's not much to speak of. This is a team that has outdone themselves yet again and have miserably failed for the past decade. They are one of the worst football teams to ever exist in a decade span. Let me tell you something. 2 decades. Probably. Let me tell you something. Robert Saleh is a defensive specialist. The Jets have given up 45 points 3 times out of the last 4 games. How is that defensive specialty? And then on offense, my God, the praise from Mike LaFleur, who thought, oh, Mike White, he had this great Hall of Fame game. Let me tell you something. They were horrendous. They were ill-prepared. They got beat down, and they don't deserve any praise whatsoever. None. You know what? I do want to give some props to a team that everyone has counted out, but they have somehow come back, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone thinks Patrick Mahomes is having a down year, and he is. But let me tell you something. When he is right, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Don't shake your head at me. He is the top dog. When he is the best arm angle, best arm talent. He's athletic. And I understand also he's got that team has weapons. As they remind you, I know they looked out of sync the first couple games of the year, but Tyreek Hill is probably the fastest receiver, and you combine that with the best tight end in the game, Travis Kelce, that is very hard to defeat. And also, because offensive linemen don't get their credit, Creed Humphrey is a very solid offensive lineman. Okay, it took some time for that chemistry to gel, but it's getting better. Now, I understand the defense is still a little shaky, but let me tell you, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this division, and they're going to come back and prove why they're the top dog in the AFC.
Bold statements, John. Now, I agree with you saying Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks that we're seeing in this division, and he's only 26 years old.
He's still in his prime.
Still in his prime. And I also want to bring up, he was throwing with his other hand during that Sunday night game. What quarterback does that?
It's just
Patrick Mahomes is superhuman. End of story. Kansas City. But you think they're going to win the division, which is something interesting.
Yes, I do.
Do you think that they could beat the LA Chargers?
Yes, I do.
Why do you believe they do?
The Chargers do not. The Chargers, again, another good team. I do like Justin Herbert. He's taking that next step. You know, he had a very solid rookie season. Mike Williams is generated as a very talented receiver to go along with Keenan Allen. But I just don't think the Chargers have enough on defense. Even in games like Minnesota, there were times where they look lost out there. They're getting beat in coverage, just missed assignments, and I don't think they have enough to slow down or catch up to the Chiefs at this current moment.
All right. Justin, what are your thoughts on everything?
I definitely agree with you about the Chiefs winning the division. I definitely see them, starting to find their stride again. I think also the acquirement of Melvin Ingram kind of helped the defense a little bit as well. Not saying that they're totally improved because there's still areas they have to work on, but I do think they have enough to beat the LA Chargers. And I do feel like Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback. I have to disagree with that.
So who's the best quarterback then?
For me, it's still like, I know that it's like the craziest thing to say, but I still feel like Tom Brady is the most consistent quarterback of all.
Consistent, but that's not the same as greatest quarterback. Is he consistent or is he the greatest?
Right now, Patrick Mahomes, the turnovers for me has been his downfall for this season. But like prior to last year, I would have made that statement that Mahomes, he made like a lot of strides to becoming the best quarterback in the league. But the silly turnovers has kind of damaged him just a bit. Even though he looked really good last Sunday, I just want to see more consistency out of him. Brady,
I understand.
You know where you're going to stand with Brady.
I agree, because with Brady, if giving the ball to Brady, even if you have 20 seconds left on the clock, he's going to do something.
Exactly. So
and Patrick Mahomes is not up to that yet.
Exactly.
But that's also something. Tom Brady is in his 40s, and he has experience in the league.
Yes.
That's something Patrick Mahomes will learn over time.
Absolutely, but there's even a saying that Tom Brady has thrown more touchdowns like in a span of his 40s more than he did in his 20s. So he's not really aging backwards. He's like still getting better each year. And he's like going to go on a record pace for like 5,000 passing yards this season.
He's basically Benjamin Button.
We're going to wrap everything up and go into the NBA now. Biggest storyline definitely has to be the Golden State Warriors and their return to greatness. Let's be clear on one thing. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter to ever exist on this planet. He's better than his partner, Klay Thompson. He's better than Larry Bird. He's better than Reggie Miller. He's better than Ray Allen. No one has his ability to hit from long range, and no one has his ability to make as many as a row as he can. I think there was that one practice where he hit like almost 90-something, if I'm not mistaken. But he's averaging about 35-7 right now, or 35-8, if I'm not mistaken. Last night in the win over the Brooklyn Nets, he went 9 for 14 from 3 and 12 of 19. That's like near impossible numbers. And then, his team they don't get enough credit. Draymond Green Steph does most of the scoring, but Draymond does all the little things right, like he's an excellent defensive player, great rebounder. And I'll have the resurgence of Andrew Wiggins. Let me tell you, I understand he might not have been first overall pick worthy back when the Timberwolves had him, and they took him number 1 overall. And he's had some shaky years, but he can get his numbers. He could score 20 to 30 a game. And if they even get Klay Thompson back to 85% of where they were at, there is no one beating that team.
I know Justin had high thoughts, too, about the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, definitely. Just because of the defense they're bringing to the table every game now. It's like Gary Payton's been really big for them. That was a huge acquirement. Jordan Poole's possibly a most improved player of the year. Just a lot of players just playing into their roles and letting Steph Curry, be great and do what he does. And it's really scary to see because they don't even have James Wiseman as of right now or Klay Thompson. So just imagine what they could be doing moving forward with those guys healthy going into a deep playoff season, But for me, I really want to get into the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I understand there's no Kyrie Irving on this team, but with 2 top 5 players on your team, there's no way you get manhandled like that. And they've been just in a sync all season. James Harden's not performing to the level he's supposed to be performing at. Kevin Durant last night got held in check, 17 points. that's insane to me. And that's not all Kevin Durant's fault, because yes, he is, I believe, the leading scorer in the NBA right now, behind Curry. But you have to show up in these big games. And I feel like the miscommunication on the Brooklyn Nets right now is really holding them back. And I think Steve Nash needs to do a better job at making his players, play into their roles exactly how the Warriors are playing into their roles. And they have to just let that Kyrie saga go and find their identity, because right now, if they don't, they're looking like a second round exit at best. And it's not a good look, because this is a championship built roster and they are in win now mode, and it's not looking like a win now situation.
I agree with you. They are still holding on to the Kyrie situation. You have to let that go. We're already too much into the season right now. If you want to make Brooklyn this team to fear, I'm sorry. I'm not fearing the Brooklyn Nets. What about you, Brian? Are you fearing the Brooklyn Nets?
I wouldn't say I'm fearing the Brooklyn Nets. I'll only fear him if Kyrie comes back. It's very simple. And honestly, I like how you said they're both 2 top 5 players, but I don't even refer to Harden as a top 10 anymore.
As of right now, how he's playing, absolutely not. I agree.
And I think it's because, he's not getting the fouls he used to. That has messed up a lot of players' games. You see a lot of their points drop, their free throws drop, because they've changed the rules to make it easier to get, I would say now it's easier to get away with fouls.
Right.
Fouls that used to be called fouls are now no longer that, so you get away with more of it, and it makes it harder for these players who always got it to adjust to that. It's kind of like it's trying to make the league tougher, which is what the fans want, but at the same time it's making it hard for these players to really put in that impact when they were superstars before. But if you're talking about, one team I really enjoy watching, and I'm going to say this only once because they are somehow number 1 in the East. Don't ask me how, but they're number 1. The Washington Wizards. I'm trying to process it still. Because I look at the roster and it doesn't seem like a roster that should be number 1. It's Dinwiddie, it's Kuzma, it's Beal, it's KCP, it's Gafford. That's what they've got. And they're number 1 in the East. And I don't understand it. It's a lot of levels to it. I mean, Kuzma's playing very well, though. I will give you everybody that. Kuzma's playing very well, but at the same time, it's the Wizards. It's the Wizards.
I mean, you could make the same argument about the Bulls. The Bulls, they're making a statement. I have to say, they played the Knicks, and the Knicks versus the Bulls this season is a different Knicks versus the Bulls, I would say, 5 years ago.
It is. It's closer to the 90s battles we'd say.
Yeah.
It's closer. But what I am going to say is, you can't sit there and also say that, the Bulls don't have more talent overall than the Washington Wizards do. Their only talent I see on that roster right now is Bradley Beal and Montrezl Harrell.
Oh, let me
That's
make a
all
case
I
for that.
see.
Nah, I can't.
That's all I see.
can't
And on the Bulls, I see a lot of talent coming out of DeMar DeRozan, and I see Levine emerging as a true number 1.
What about
for a team.
Caruso? Caruso's making statements.
Caruso's a 6-man. That's all he's ever going to be.
I'll tell you this. I do agree with you on some parts about the Bulls, but the Wizards thing is like, nah, man. Because Spencer Dinwiddie, if you really look back to the days with him and D'Angelo Russell, he put in a lot of work, averaging about 23, I believe, at that year. And I think he was a 6-man candidate. And, he was always bound to be a starter somewhere. And I feel like now that he's living up to, the money they offered him, and he's finally getting that recognition that, I could take that next level, and in a starting role, he's taking he made a huge difference to Bradley Beal's game. I feel like he complements him pretty good. And I always feel like people come down on Kuzma, and if you look back at Kuzma's first year, he played pretty good. Without LeBron James there, he averaged around 16, 17. And I think he's always been a solid basketball player. And I think the Wizards, you just need to give him a little bit more credit.
All right, awesome points, you guys. I believe that wraps up our episode, our first sports episode today. Thank you all for watching. Please make sure to like this video, share it, and make in the comment section. Tell us what you agree with or what you disagree with us. And make sure you subscribe to SFC Terrier TV YouTube channel. I'm Katarina Cordero. I have John D'Amico, Justin Rowley, and Brian Mansell with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.